What's up, everyone? So, today I want to go over three different case scenarios and talk about how a red pill viewpoint would be different from a black pill viewpoint. So, let's get right into it. So, the first one we have is women and criminals. So, within red pill groups, you'll hear a lot of men talk about how women are attracted to these dark triad, personality traits, men who have committed crimes, men who are extremely violent, and it's almost like this distaste for the fact that women can be attracted to them, and it's like a shock for them. And it's very much seen as a behavioral trait that women are attracted to. And it's like a strong assertion about how these women are attracted to, you know, these traits and it being a huge part of female nature. But the one thing they almost always forget to talk about is the attractiveness of the criminals. So let's think about Jeremy Meeks, Richard Ramirez, Ted Bundy, Luigi Mangione. How are all these guys treated differently from women versus the guy who assassinated Charlie Kirk and the guy who tried to assassinate Trump? I mean, it's just totally different. And I think the only explanation is looks. Um, and then if you look at a black pill viewpoint, it's going to be more of a focus on the fact that the criminals are actually attractive and that it's a halo effect where they might have done these terrible things, but their looks can override them. But there is still some element and acceptance of the fact that, behind evolution and some of these other things, some of these traits can be seen as attractive. And it sort of makes sense from an evolutionary perspective, but it's more seen as like, look, it's really they're only getting that treatment because they're attractive. And I think if we look at the reverse, we all know that, some of the girls who are the most attractive in high school can be extremely mean and, rude towards other girls and can be seen as, terrible personalities who don't treat others well. But other men's other guys within high school will have no problem dating them. Like they're seen still as extremely attractive despite having some of these really terrible personality traits. And although it doesn't reach extremes to committing crimes and such, but it's sort of like you don't think about it twice just because it's pretty well accepted the fact that men are way more interested in looks in the mainstream, and that's sort of how the red pill would think about this. But the way I view it as, look, these women are extremely attracted to these guys, and then they do that, they commit these crimes, but then it's like, okay, I'm still attracted to them, and that's sort of the same thing that happens with men when women, aren't nice to other women. It's sort of just like, well, yeah, she's not nice, but like she's still extremely attractive, so it really doesn't hurt them that much. So if we get into the next one, we have money and attractiveness, and this is another big common one where the red pill and the black pill split. The red pill viewpoint is typically that women will chase you once you get into your 30s, because you'll be making more money, and that's when female hypergamy will start to kick in, and female hypergamy values your financial success a lot. And I think this topic I could make like a whole video about how maybe it's just because these older women are more desperate and you're sort of seen as beta buxing, and a lot of the actual like attractive women are maybe potentially out of the dating market at this point. And the men who are getting the attractive woman, it's sort of like the very, very, very top 1% sort of thing. So it's a lot of like survivorship bias and reaching levels of status that like you really can't replace super easily. And the black pill would view this sort of as like, money can aid your SMV, it can help you a lot. It's definitely a tool and a resource for you to leverage, more so to like improve your looks, travel, get in the right dating market, potentially be like a halo for you rather than like actually trying to bait the bucks. We see The common black pill belief is like you want to be sort of close to your looks match with dating, just because if you're dating someone way out of your league, like this streamer Destiny was, she's most likely gonna like cheat on you and leave you and take you for sort of that clout or money, whatever sort of currency you could provide them, and then leave you once they've sort of optimized it. And this is why you'll see so many men who aren't attractive, end up getting divorced. And it's just completely obvious why they would end up in a sexless marriage or end up getting divorced, just because, they weren't attracted to anything about you other than what you could provide them. And it's really just seen as money is actually compensating for your lack of looks. And now all of a sudden, these women are getting older and maybe a little bit more desperate, and they can, maximize the, hypergamy they have left, where when they're younger, they can actually like get someone who they're actually attracted to, you, um, they're actually attracted to. And that's really the main split. And I can go into a lot more about how there's sort of some fallacies in what a lot of these guys talk about with, like, in the red pill groups, of how money is aiding in your attractiveness, and how look at all these guys who have money now. And there's a lot of black pill within the guys who are actually making a lot of money, because you know there's a lot of men who have had like successful business careers, financial careers, who, are getting into their 30s and 40s, but they're, short and unattractive. And, it's really not going to help them that much. Like, there's still some level of black pill to almost every case scenario you see. And I think that's goes, misrepresented in some of the red pill groups, because, the red pill is going to focus on like your looks is just, how much muscle you have and whatnot. Whereas the black pill is going to view more as like facial attractiveness, and stuff that's more genetically determined. The last one we have is passport bros. This is something, once again, it's very common in both groups to accept that, geomaxing is going to be a great strategy for a lot of men. The same way where, earning more money is never going to hurt you. And geomaxing is almost never going to hurt you as well. Now, with the red pill, the viewpoint on why being a passport bro is so good is that you're finally escaping the West, because foreign women have more realistic standards, and they're more feminine. They express a lot more, positive behavioral traits compared to Western women. Now, Western women just simply don't appreciate men like foreign women do. And this is common. Um, and once again, there could be some truth to this, whereas the black pill is going to view this as like, look, if you go to a foreign country, these common geomaxing passport bro type of locations, like Southeast Asia, Latin America, Eastern Europe, a lot of the men, specifically in Southeast Asia and Latin America, are going to be shorter and, potentially less attractive. And therefore, you're getting, success because you went somewhere where you had less competition. And it's also seen as, look, you're a niche in that dating market, whereas you might have been just a typical guy back home. You now have some niche, element to you that can help you in your dating success. And you also have, once again, more social status with your passport and whatnot. Whereas Red Pill is, trying to sort of be a little bit more optimistic in the fact that um, these women just have more realistic standards, and are sort of saying like, yeah, maybe the passport helps a little bit, but if I just stay over there, it's totally cool. And it's sort of like overlooked a little bit, the actual like status that comes with coming from a richer country, compared to someone who would have to save for years to be able to visit that country, if they can even get the visa. So that's something that definitely goes under the radar in red pill groups, and both have some, truths to them. But the black pill is going to focus on like, look, you can go over there, be some 60-year-old guy, date some 20-year-old girl, but she's not actually attractive. You're still beta bucksing, just in a different dating market. And it's sort of showing that female, nature, I guess, as you'll hear it in red pill groups, is that like it's still universal with the fact that looks are going to be the most important driver. This is why you'll hear so many stories about guys who were actually unattractive, and then they brought them back here, and then it was game over for them. It's just common with like the show you'll see on TLC, where you see unattractive guys and they bring them back, or they'll be over there and they just still deal with the same hassles that you would see with dating in the West, because they're still unattractive and there's so much more to negotiate, and you're still just compensating with some other point of money, status, and whatnot, because you're lacking in looks. So that's sort of the different lens points on these three scenarios. So be curious to hear your guys thoughts in the comments below, and once again, I'll catch you guys in the next video, and thanks for watching.